Last season crowned Olenek as champion, but he was unable to win a single race in the second half. With Mick Claridge stepping away for other endeavors, will it leave the door open for Rob to top the charts again? Or will someone else step up to the plate and challenge the American? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round one of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We kick things off with an old car at an old track, except that this classic venue has seen some major updates since 1967. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about the Red Bull Ring. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Rebus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and undertrays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open-wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race. Well, Sam, this was a track that was asked for on iRacing for many years. Now that it's here, it seems to certainly be popular.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of people have shown up here for the first race of the season. This is an official series season on iRacing, so we're going to be racing here for 12 weeks. It's a relatively short circuit. Lap times here tend to not be too far over 1 minute, and you can see not a lot of turns on the corner count either. Qualifying just getting underway here, so the drivers will be happy about that. That means if they make any mistakes, they'll easily be able to come back into the pits, reset, and go back out there again. There's not a whole lot of elevation changes around here, but lots of tricky corners, that's for sure. Turn 1, there's a massive curb on the exit. Of course, Formula One in recent history has shown us how easily things can go wrong at the following corners after that. And then there's massive sweepers towards the end of a lap where the AstroTurf on iRacing, you can use it. It doesn't necessarily give you a penalty unless you go too far, and then it will.
Yeah, so they certainly have to watch those track boundaries. But we also have a championship from last season. We already mentioned very quickly that Rob Olenek wound up winning that. Up at the top of things, Courtniemi chased him all the way to the end, with Mick Claridge coming on strong and won 4 of the last 6 races. And that bumped him up to 3rd. From there, it gets a little bit farther away with Ove Trangrade and Bill Tyler kind of out of the running by the end of things. But that was the F1 championship. They have the AM class as well. Sam, why don't you run us down the F2s?
Yeah, we'll see how these guys came out at the end of the F2 Championship. And there you can see Pekka Risto won that by 63 points over Dave Cohen. A tie for 3rd place between Hideki Koivisto and Michael Grissinger. Looks like Koivisto won the tiebreaker there, and Andrew Eng was just 6 markers back of him. And this is one thing that definitely keeps this championship interesting. You don't necessarily have to be racing for the win to have a little title fight going on.
Yeah, it gives them something to hope for down there. They also have the Nations Cup, as they did it back in 1967. So instead of a Constructors' Championship, this is what they actually fought for. The United States, as they probably wouldn't have won it back then, did win it this season ahead of Finland there, with many Finns coming in and showing themselves to be quite quick in this car, as the UK wound up in 3rd, Norway and France rounding out your top 5 in the points. Real quick, before we get to the qualifying, Sam, why don't you run us through the race details?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, it's already an official. It's an official iRacing series, so that comes with certain guarantees to it, such as it'll be a 12-race season, and there are penalties for the amount of incident points that you accumulate during the race. So this is round number 1 of 12. It's going to be a 24-lap race around here. We actually have a lot of cars here. I believe 41 in total. It's a single split. For some reason, iRacing doesn't split these old F1 cars until they go over 50 cars. So that means we have some drivers at the front of the field who are racing with I ratings as high as 9,000, and some drivers at the back who are racing with an I rating as low as 900. So we're going to see a lot of interesting battles here today. And again, it's going to be 24 laps, round number 1 of 12. These drivers will have drop weeks throughout the season, be battling for points that will vary in the official iRacing sim based on how stiff the competition is. And then, of course, this being a higher class series, there aren't any free repairs, and that's kind of bad news for any kind of reckless drivers out there, because these cars can be quite fragile.
Indeed, and we've been getting some of our drivers putting laps down with Jamie Fluke coming in with that black stripe, and to the surprise of no one, currently leads the timing sheets, but it's by half a second over Ove Trangrade on this first lap. David Gasper's also coming in. He's usually quite quick in cars without much downforce, but usually we're used to seeing him in slower things such as the Formula V in recent seasons on the Global Sim Racing channel, but still he's looking competitive here with third place. As we continue to watch Fluke here as he's on his second flyer down through A1 and to the line. Can he improve on that 27.4? Right now it's looking good. And yes, up by another half a second to a 27 flat. He is really setting the marker for everybody else, Sam.
Yep, well, Dave Gaspers is just coming out of a final turn in his number 1 car, so he has the highest I rating of everyone, and he goes second fastest. He falls 7/10 short of Jamie Fluke there. We've actually had a lot of drivers set a qualifying time so far. They don't have the numbers quite right on iRacing yet, but it looks like about 35, 36. So very few drivers opt in not to set a lap in qualifying. And I don't know. I have a feeling, Joe, if I was one of these drivers, particularly a midfielder, I'd be one of those maybe thinking about starting from the back, because I think in the midfield on the opening lap here things could get wild at the Red Bull Ring.
And apologies, we'll have to step away for just a moment. We'll be back after this. Please stick around.